Welcome, everybody, as we go through the uh, Impact Wrestling review for August the 11th, 2020. This is Scott Golden with Pro Wrestling Logic, and it's weird. This is a very polarizing show this week. The good stuff was really good, but the bad stuff was WWE level awful. So I don't really get kind of what to make of this show anyway. There's an open video, focuses on Rich Swann's foot injury and a recap of Eric Young attacking him both at Slammiversary and the attack last week. Willie Mack and Eric Young are already fighting as the show begins. We're told that Willie Mack didn't want to wait for Young backstage. They brawled. Security breaks them up. Referee takes the microphone and told Young that he's going to start the match already. Young tries to leave, but the referee starts the match instead. Mack takes control of Young with some kicks and other strikes. There's a cutoff where Young's sent them into the ropes. Mack tosses EY around on the floor and lands a pescado to remain control and a 2 count. Mack goes for a superplex, but Young drops him, hits a diving elbow for a 2 count. Young nails a couple of knees and elbows and goes for another pin attempt, doesn't get anywhere. Mack goes for a double axe handle from the second, Young goes for the double axe handle from the second rope, but Matt catches him with a Northern Lights suplex. He regains control. Young goes back to work on the neck and almost chokes his opponent out. Lots of offense from Young here. You can obviously see that Young has been to a finishing school in NXT in the sense that he really is pacing the match well. Mack hits a Samoan drop and a standing moonsault for a 2 count. The announcers, Josh Matthews and Madison Rayne, talk about how Mack is a former X Division champion. Mack goes for the stunner and cheap heat attack by Young. Mack does get the stunner off, though. Goes for the 6-star frog splash, but instead grabs a chair. A ref tells him he'd DQ him if he uses it. Willie says he didn't care. Sets up to Pillmanize. Young is able to recover, block, and hits a pile driver to pick up the win. Decent opening match. Post-match, Eric Young calls out Eddie Edwards. Matthews and Madison Rayne run down the card for the night. Good Brothers are looking for Ace Austin and Madman Fulton. We go to the stupid Wrestle House thing, and here's where things fall off the rail. This is just proof that the bookers don't have either enough talent, timing, skill, or something to fill time. Comedy in small doses is great. This is just a waste of all the talents involved. Taya says she has another activity. She wants to show her own greatest hits. Cody Deaner tells us that Cousin Jake is sick. Alicia Edwards says that Susie was sick too. Taya plays her highlight reel of Impact matches and nobody cares. Swinger is telling stories to Crazy Steve. Steve's making eyes at Rosemary over in the corner. And there's talk that he feels that Rosemary is jealous. Susie and Cousin Jake are going on a date in another room in the same house, mind you. Reno Scum jumps Rhino and steal back money for Hernandez. Jordana Grace defeats Kimberly. Grace is a great talent. Basic start to the match. Grace gets an early advantage, hits a sidewalk slam for a near fall, and Grace shows her power throughout. Lee uses the referee, allowing herself to get a kick to gain control. We go to commercial, we come back. Kimberly's working on the left knee of Grace and using the ring and any other weapon she can get. Goes for a knee bar, Lee chops Grace a bit and goes for a suplex. Grace blocks and hits one of her own instead. Lee goes for a swanton bomb, but there's a block from Grace, and Grace hits a superplex, or attempts to, but gets hit with a headbutt, and Grace gets the knees up on the swanton, and then we see a rear naked choke from Grace on Lee. Nice little short match. A new episode of Locker Room Talk with guests Rob Van Dam and Katie Forbes. As to be expected, this is goofy again. They start making out. Madison leaves them the couch. Rob interviews Katie about being with him and vice versa. This is just stupid. And then there's a lighting trick. The lights go out. Sami Callihan is sitting in the interviewer's chair. He goes and starts to attack Van Dam. However, Van Dam and Forbes get the advantage over Sami. Meh, okay. So Keith Miller buys a advertisement where he's begging to be allowed to remain on Impact. Trey Miguel and Trey Miguel shows up with the suicide mask on. We go back to Wrestle House, and Talia's still making everyone watch her matches, and she's trying to make Bravo jealous. And then we go Rosemary. Rosemary's the one. She puts a curse on Larry D. AC Romano noticed something odd in Larry D. And he says there's more to life than food. They get into a fight, and then we go outside Wrestle House. Larry D defeats AC Romano, punching and kicking. Larry's the first to go down. AC hits a drop kick, but fails a senton. Larry moves out of the way. Larry lands a second clothesline, and he dedicates the match to Rosemary. Susie and Cousin Jake are on their date. They had nothing to talk about. They talk about bodily functions. Yes, I'm not kidding. Deanna Purrazzo cuts a promo on Jordynne Grace. She says Grace has been acting aggressive and ruthless, challenges her to a 30-minute Iron Man Knockouts championship match at Emergence. This is later accepted. Video package of the North versus Motor City Machine Guns for Emergence. Motor City Machine Guns talk about the new teams coming in. North is talking about being the best because they've studied their opponents. This is fine, but it's kind of wasted hype. Then we go to Kiera Hogan, Tasha Steelz, defeating Havoc and Nevaeh in a no DQ match. Hogan and Steelz hide from their opponents. Tasha and Hogan jump them from behind to start the brawl. There's chokes of Havoc, and Hogan and Nevaeh brawl on the other side. Havoc catches Tasha with a black hole slam, sets her up for Trio and drags her with the elbow. Havoc follows with a running boot, but Hogan grabs at Havoc's leg to save Tasha, allowing her to take a chair and drop Havoc. And they both hit super kicks on Havoc. Nevaeh jumps in the ring, hits double clothesline, gets a near fall. Outside the ring, Hogan tricked Havoc into the running knee and first into the steel steps. Havoc brings out a table outside the ring Havoc and Nevaeh try to toss Hogan through the table, but Tasha Steelz saves her, and the four started trading strikes. Everyone gets a kick in. Havoc goes for a tombstone on Tasha, but Tasha's saved by Hogan, and Havoc hits a double suplex on both. Then Nevaeh attacked them with a street sign. Hogan dodged and hits a swinging neckbreaker. Pins Nevaeh somewhat out of nowhere. I mean, good match with a little bit fast pacing, but Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan are probably the best female tag team that's been around anywhere in a while, outside of Bayley and Sasha on WWE, so second best in wrestling right now. Gallows and Anderson asked Ian Moore about Ace Austin's whereabouts. He says he didn't know. Moose is walking backstage. Moose has decided to become synonymous with TNA. EC3 cuts a promo, says he wants to destroy him. Desmond Xavier with Zachary Wentz versus Suicide goes to a no contest. Series of counters in the match, and Good Brothers come out. Good Brothers clear the ring. They take out the Radicals and Suicide and use a magic killer. Anderson cuts promo saying that they were going to wait all night for Ace Austin and Fulton if they need to. Fulton and Ace appear, and they say they're going to be willing to fight next week. At Emergence, backstage, Rohit Raju appears, asks Chris Bay about making things a three-way. They tease dissension between the two of them, but eventually we will have a three-way with TJP, Chris Bay, and Rohit Raju for the X Division Championship. My, how this has fallen. Brian Myers vignette where he calls himself the most professional wrestler. Back at Wrestle House, Susie and Jake ended their really awkward date. Su Yung starts to come out of Susie, and then Alicia asks Susie if she did everything she told her to do. Susie and Alicia then go outside to wrestle in front of Wrestle House. Alicia starts pushing Susie around and is slapping her, and they do the cat fight thing. Crazy Steve separates them. Alicia caught her with a clothesline. They trade strikes back and forth. And then there's a schoolgirl, and that leads to Alicia winning the match. This was just a horrible thing. Then we go to him after the match. Talia told them all to go back in the house to watch more of her matches. Kylie Rae objects and tells Talia that, they don't want to do that. And Talia tells her she's never been a champion. So Rae challenges Talia. Rosemary stops Dreamer from calling the match. Matthews and Rain run down the card for Emergence, which we'll see in two parts over the next 2 weeks. And Eddie Edwards comes down for his open challenge. Eddie Edwards' open challenge is kind of lame because they keep doing it week after week. He calls out Eric Young and instead gets Brian Myers. Myers is out with his first Impact match, and it is a championship match, which is kind of silly. But the match itself was very, very good. Match starts with Myers using everything that he can to get and maintain an advantage. And there's a series of strikes, and Eddie and Myers trade some shoulder tackles, and we go to commercial. Myers is back in the ring, and they're going back and forth, atomic drops and over-the-head suplexes. Myers sends Eddie into the ropes and catches him with some maneuvers, then send him into the ring post on the outside. This stops Eddie's momentum. Myers works over Eddie's back, ramming him into the apron, using a couple of knees. Myers is on the offense for the next several minutes. They go back to the floor, and Myers hits a suicide dive. Eddie seems to hurt his knee, and Myers takes advantage of this fact. Back in the ring, back suplex by Myers for a near fall. He then goes for a sleeper. Eddie makes a comeback, suplexing him into the turnbuckle. Eddie hits a step-up enziguri and a backpack stunner for a 2 count. Eddie goes for the Tiger Driver. Myers gets his way out, hits an even flow DDT for a 2 count of his own. Eddie catches Myers with a super kick and a forearm and a Tiger Driver, but Myers kicks out. Don't know why he's kicking out of Eddie's finish, especially when he's not winning. Then Eddie sets up the Boston Knee Party. Myers dodges and hits a Pele kick. Myers hits the ropes, and Eddie caught him with the Boston Knee Party on a comeback. Picks up a win. Good match. Myers looks decent, but having him drop the first show is just goofy. They're good as long as you take away the skits. If you add the skits in, they're just about as goofy as SmackDown. In any event, that is the review of Impact for the 11th of August 2020. We'll be back with more WCCW action, plus tomorrow night NXT and AEW as well. Until next time, keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.